common piece of advice that you always hear is that it's not what you know, it's who you know that's more important. And this could not be more true when it comes to securing your first internship or a graduate position when you are a student. Now, a lot of people say this though with really great intentions. It might be to console those who don't necessarily have the highest grades out of a cohort, which is fine. But a lot of the time they say this without really giving any actionable steps on how they can use this philosophy to land a position outside of their degree. So in today's video, this is exactly what I want to address. I want to provide you guys some really good methods to use to essentially secure the internship. So let's get into it. So to get started, let's first talk about why companies even do internship programs or graduate programs in the first place. So there's a couple of reasons. One of the reasons are it's good publicity. So, it's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of the time companies will engage in volunteering activities, and it just makes sense to send graduates or interns to kind of action those initiatives out. The next reason is cheap labor. And so a lot of the time in companies there's always a mountain of repetitive, well-defined work that needs to get done, and so it just makes more sense for the cheap labor, who are typically the interns and the grads, to action those out. And then the next reason is for talent pipeline, right? So in a competitive environment, companies are also vying for talent. And so a internship program is essentially a long screening process in which the intern will be assessed on whether they are a good fit for the company and to eventuate into a full-time position. And the last reason I want to talk about is the potential for something amazing. Now, what this is more so in the idea of, in the first reason I spoke about how there's a lot of routine work that they can allocate them to. Another, on the opposite end, could be really ambitious work. However, in these instances, they're environments in which the risk to the operations of the business is limited. So if you have a stellar intern who comes in and reinvents the wheel and does something amazing, great. Majority of them won't be able to, but if they can, that's great. And if you don't, then that's fine. There's no risk or harm done to the business. So out of all of those reasons, you may have noticed that I didn't really mention things like intelligence or grades as necessarily the desire of business from a business point of view, particularly when you get into large corporations. Now, albeit from those top tier firms that solely hire based on the top talent, or top grades, I mean, the majority of companies have a this kind of outlook when it comes to applying for interns. Now, what this means is that grades really, they're important in the competition of when you take the normal path that everyone else does, which is to apply for intern programs online when they come out and then jump into the pool of 500 plus however many interns apply for, and then your grades really are just a filter as well as keywords in your CV or your resume. But today I want to present to you an alternative method, and the method is really simple, and it sounds really obvious at the start, but I want to talk about it a bit more because a lot of people don't necessarily know the finer details of this. And so really simply what it is that you want to get to know the hiring champion for a particular company. So that sounds really obvious, but let's go into it a bit more in detail. So typically at a university, they will have career fairs where essentially if you're a engineer or if you're in finance, your university department or even the student clubs and societies, they'll organize these career fairs where they will get spokespersons from industry to come into the university and essentially provide more information about what that company does, the business, and general advice on upcoming internships. Right? A lot of the time though, if you've been to them, you're probably thinking, yeah, I've been to a couple of those and I've walked away with quite a bit of vague information, didn't really land or secure anything, and that's typically normal, and that's actually what you would expect, because again, similar to cold applying online, you are interfacing with people who are interfacing with a large number of people. So therefore, naturally, there isn't going to be enough spots, right? But to really take advantage of these environments, and which I genuinely believe is the way to land an internship, is to, first of all, make sure that you get the person who is representing the company on LinkedIn, right? Ask them explicitly when their internship applications are going to open. Once you have applied online, ensure that this is done again while you are connected to them on LinkedIn, and let them know that you have applied, right? Let them know particularly what discipline, and what I mean discipline is what you're studying, what you're interested in on LinkedIn, and then a month after or so, ensure that you follow up on your application. And this will work. Why I'm telling you that you will have a higher likely chance of success is because if you look at it from a recruiter's perspective, right, their job, or what they want out of the game, is essentially to fill a headcount, which means that their job isn't to be a technical SME. So what a lot of that means is that even though you have, you are studying a probably as highly specialized degree, they probably won't really know about what it is that you do, because the technical SMEs, right, the ones that you may potentially become in the future, they are busy actually doing actual work, right? Whereas recruiters, they have a rough idea of what the business does in the different departments within the business, and their job is simply to provide a headcount and fit the profile of a potential intern. So if you take that approach and you think about how can I make their job easier, right, which is to first of all initiate contact, show that you can fill a gap that they're looking for, and to also constantly follow up on your application, it automatically takes you from being someone that just applies, uses your CV and your resume and your grades as the main method of advertising yourself, to the second method, which is that you have connections, right? And I can guarantee you, if you do this, skip class for these things, pay more attention to that, I can guarantee that you will be far more successful in landing an internship. Now that's my talk for today. If you found it insightful, if you want to know more, if you have any specific questions, if you thought everything that I said was a waste of time, let me know in the comments below. But if you found this helpful, please feel free to like and subscribe. Cheers.